Hey, Heidi here, and I am so excited. I'm going to read you one of my new favorite books ever. So for those of y'all that are jumping on, go ahead and say hi, but I wanted to talk a little bit about when you have an idea. So you know I teach you how to make money teaching paint parties, and a lot of times we have this idea, but let me know in the comments if all of a sudden you get excited and you tell people about this idea, and then you have people that are like, down in it, or they're saying that, oh, that's not a great idea. Let me see if I can see y'all's comments. Hold on, let me put a comment in here. Oh, good. Hey, Cynthia, thank you for saying hi. So I wanted to take a minute to share. It's a very, very quick book. Hey, Julie. It's a very quick book, but I wanted to read it to you. I read it to Paint Party Headquarters the other day, and they loved it. And so I'm hoping you will love it too. Hello, good evening, Priscilla. I know it's late, so I thought we'd sit by my fire and I could read you this book. So, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about 3 things I wrote down for you at the very end about what do you do when you have an idea. Okay, so during the book, which is pretty quick, I'm not going to be responding to comments, but afterwards I definitely will. So thank y'all for coming on and saying hi. Okay. Are you ready? I know this is different than me painting, so please give me some love if you're loving this, because it just meant a lot. Me and Pixie found this inside of Barnes & Noble's, and we sat on the floor and we just read it, and then we read the second one. There's several of them. The next one is called Trying, and I love this one, that one too, just as much. Okay, so this one's called, and it's by, for anybody that wants to get it for people, because I got 3 of them for Christmas gifts. It's called What Do You Do with an Idea? By Yamada. Am I saying that right? Yamada. Okay. All right. All right, y'all ready for this? Okay. What do you do with an idea? Where did it come from? Why is it here? I wondered, what do you do with an idea? And right there it says, one day I had an idea. At first, I didn't think much of it. It seemed kind of strange and fragile. I'm going to try to make this where y'all can see it. I didn't know what to do with it, so I just walked away from it. I acted like it didn't belong to me. But it followed me. I worried what others would think. What would people say about my idea? I kept it to myself. I hid it away and didn't talk about it. I tried to act like everything was the same as it was before my idea showed up. But there was something magical about my idea. I had to admit, I felt better and happier when it was around. It wanted food. It wanted to play. Actually, it wanted a lot of attention. It grew bigger and we became friends. I showed it to other people even though I was afraid of what they would say. I was afraid that if people saw it, they would laugh at it. I was afraid they would think it was silly. And many of them did. They said it was no good. They said it was too weird. They said it was a waste of time and that it would never become anything. And at first I believed them. I actually thought about giving up on my idea. I almost listened to them. But then I realized, what do they really know? This is my idea, I thought. No one knows it like I do. And it's okay if it's different and weird and maybe a little crazy. I decided to protect it, to care for it. I fed it good food. I worked with it, I played with it, but most of all, I gave it my attention. My idea grew and grew, and so did my love for it. I built it a new house, one with an open roof where it could look up at the stars, a place where it could be safe to dream. I liked being with my idea. It made me feel more alive, like I could do anything. It encouraged me to think big, and then to think bigger. It shared its secrets with me. It showed me how to walk on my hands, because it said, It is good to have the ability to see things differently. I couldn't imagine my life without it. Then one day, something amazing happened. My idea changed right before my eyes. It spread its wings, took flight, and burst into the sky. I don't know how to describe it, but it went from being here to being everywhere. It wasn't just a part of me anymore. It was now a part of everything. And then I realized, what do you do with an idea? You change the world. Isn't that a great book? Oh my gosh. So for those of you, hello, hi BFFs. I didn't want to interrupt during the story time, but I wanted to, and I know some of y'all are wondering, like, I thought you painted and taught us how to make money teaching paint parties. I do, but I wanted to relate this back to what I'm trying to teach you. So this, again, if you want to write this down, it's called What Do You Do with an Idea by Yamada. And I actually ordered like 3 of these for nieces and nephews and all of that. But I have a couple of notes I wanted to go over with you real quick, if you don't mind, and being here for just a second longer. So number 1, so what do you do with an idea? I put 3 tips down. Number 1, naysayers, okay? We have talked about this before. Oh, I'm so glad. Let me know if you love listening to that, because there is a part 2 to this book, and I almost cried when I read it. Actually, I teared up when I read it. It was so good. So please let me know in the comments if you really like this, and I'll do it again. I'm not going to do it every week, but I did want to share that little story because I think it really hits home. And here is the thing, y'all. And that's funny. I know. I wish I had an affiliate link, but I don't. I just love this book so much, and it hit home for me and Pixie. And I hope it hits home for some of y'all. So number 1, naysayers. If you have, oh good, Janine, I'm so glad it touched you. If you have naysayers, we all do. Like, I cannot tell you how many times people will say things about when you are starting a business, a paint party business, an online business, anything like that. It is different. It is scary. It is not the norm. When I went from teaching full-time, I taught for 10 years. I taught art for 10 years. When I went from quitting my full-time teaching job, you better believe I had some family members and even some friends like, are you sure? Are you sure about that? Like, you know that the retirement's good with teaching, and are you positive? Like, you know, I had some people kind of pushing back. But again, I had an idea, and nobody else had that idea in their bones, like you do, like I do. We know, like, we're looking at a vision, you know, 3-5 years down the road. We're not looking at like, what are we just doing this week? And so for those of you that are trying to grow your paint party business or your online creative business, it's not something that just happens like in just a few minutes. You know, it takes time. And if you missed me reading this, as soon as I'm finished with this this live, you can start it over, and I did read the whole book. Oh yeah, and let me know if you want to hear the second one. It's called Trying, and that's the one that teared me up. Okay, the second thing, Rr Tolkien, which I know some of y'all know him from, I think, don't be mad, Lord of the Rings? I don't know him, but I do know that, very famous, says, a single dream is more powerful than 1,000 realities. I love that so much. A single dream is more powerful than 1,000 realities. I can't tell you how many times, I mean, I buy poster boards. Right now at Michael's, they have these really cool new, actually I'm holding one, really cool new cardstock. And I just love them because I feel like I can seriously, like, you know, write out all my dreams and all my ideas. All over there on the side of the office is just poster boards and dreams and quotes and things that I want to have happen. It's for me. It's not for anybody else. It's for me. So I wanted to read that quote to you. Again, a single dream is more powerful than 1,000 realities. That is so cool. And I don't know about y'all, you know, I get lost in daydreaming all the time. And if you do too, please let me know. And I think there's something very, very powerful about that. And it's almost like we're looking past what we just think life can be, and we're looking past to greater expectations, to what we think and what we know what we want life to become. And the part in the book where it says, and let me know if this is related, if this relates to you. This part where he says, I don't know how to describe it, but it went from being here to being everywhere. It wasn't just a part of me anymore. It was now a part of everything. Oh my gosh. So y'all, again, I started painting when I was around 15 years old. And I did a mural. My mom, I was bored one day and I said, Mom, can I paint on my wall? And she said, oh, and if y'all don't mind, if y'all could please pray for my mom, those of y'all that pray. She's been in and out of the hospital a lot, so she's back in the hospital again. So if y'all don't mind praying for her, that would be amazing. Her name is Susie. But anyway, I remember when I was 15 and I was like, you know what? I'm bored. I asked my mom, I said, hey, can I paint on my wall? And I thought she was going to tell me no. And to my surprise, she said yes. And so I spent the next year making this like oversized, like Lion King, like, you know, it was not proportional. It was not the right color. It took me an entire freaking year to get the right color mix. I was just trying to learn. I mean, I remember painting with toothbrushes, all kinds of fun stuff. But what happened was through the past year, that was when I was 15. I'm 42 now. And, you know, I went to work at corporate America like most people do, all these different things. And thank y'all so much for praying for my mom. Oh, I love y'all. Thank you so much. But, you know, the coolest part about all of this, like I know you have an idea and you have a dream, and we think that, well, if it doesn't happen this month, it's not for me. That's not true. And what I've realized, like this got me so good because it said, I don't know how to describe it, but it went from being here to being everywhere. It wasn't just a part of me anymore. It was now a part of everything. And that right there made me so happy because I look back on the last 2-3 decades of my life, and I went from just, you know, being a bored teenager and painting to now, you know, my entire world is encompassed in art and creativity and talking to you about it. Like it went from this idea to being everywhere. And I am just so in love with that. So whether you're at stage 1 or stage 10 of this, please make sure that you're not comparing yourself to everybody else. Make sure you realize that there's a background from everybody. Everybody's doing other stuff behind the scenes. So I wanted to share that with you. And then this quote I saw in there, it says, the third point I wanted to make, it said, acting on a good idea is better than just having one. So acting on a good idea is better than just having one. So we can have ideas come and go all the time. How many of you get 1,000 new ideas a week? You're literally like getting ideas and another idea and another idea. Like I get them all the time. It's almost like I can't stop them, right? They just keep coming. And I think we have to go, okay, this is awesome, and really harness that creativity, but then get focused on what we really, really want to do. Carol, that quote was, acting on a good idea is better than just having one. So I'm going to repeat 2 quotes for y'all. A single dream is more powerful than 1,000 realities. And then acting on a good idea is better than just having one. Another just quick story I wanted to share with you, and I would love, oh my gosh, I wrote on here, I would love for you to write in the comments. Joanne, that's amazing. Yes, if your ideas come at night, I keep paper by my bed at all times. I write on my hands at all times. Like there's always something being written on all the time. Because they just come, especially when you start to, it's not like you're training your brain, but you start to look at the possibilities more than you look at the hesitations. So when you start training your brain to go, oh my gosh, I want this to happen, and instead of immediately going, that can't happen because of this. That can't happen because of this. Instead, you train your brain to problem solve. All of a sudden, you're like, oh my gosh, it can happen. And not only can it happen, but it can be way better. You know, there's something really cool that's happening behind the scenes that we'll let y'all know about later. But it's like, it just gets better and better. Like, we problem solve and then it gets better. I wanted to tell y'all, for those of y'all, make sure you put in the comments what dream or idea that you have. Because here is a safe space. If it's an idea that you don't want to share yet, that's totally fine. But if it's like, hey, I've been wanting to teach paint parties, but I've been nervous, this is the place where you can share that and not feel afraid of that. Because most people that are watching me are teaching paint parties, making money doing art kits. I'm actually going to post a video after this of me and Pixie in my front lawn. We're staining wood for a paint party. We have 3 paint parties this week. And we had to stain wood for porch leaners. So I'm going to post a little time lapse of that. So I would love to know what your idea is. And then I wanted to just share, I'm really, really big on taking magazines, cutting out things that we love and visualizing it, like vision boards. And again, it's not about just having it and then just hoping, right? It's not about that. I'm not about that. I'm about like having a vision, having a dream, having a goal, having an idea, but then taking action on it. It is so, so important. And please don't mishear me when I'm like, okay, you know, say you want to do this and then just never take action. And so for those of you that don't know me, when I was around 20, right before I turned 21, oh, good. Y'all want to hear the next book? Okay, good. I'll make sure maybe next week I can do the next book for you. But when I was around 20, about to turn 21, we moved to the beach. Me and my husband, my sister and her husband at the time, packed up everything and drove to the beach and started living in Panama City Beach. We lived there pretty much all of my 20s, almost 10 years. And when we came back, a few years in, we had come back for Christmas or something, and we were going through just old stuff. And I found, this is the craziest thing, I found a project I had done in 6th grade that said, I will live on the beach one day. And I thought, I didn't even know, like, I had written that. And I thought, how cool is that? Like, you know, years before, I had already had this dream and this idea to want to go live by the beach. And we ended up doing it. And I didn't connect the two at the time. And then several years ago, I had done a journal. So every year I write, you know, me and Pixie, we write letters to ourselves and we save them for a whole year before we open them. And then we're really big about journaling. If you know anything about us, me and Pixie both probably have 50 journals each. Like it's a big deal. Like the journal picks us. It's kind of like cowboy boots. I always say the cowboy boots pick you. The journals pick you. Like they got to open right. And Marshall's has the best ones, by the way. And so, so we have journals like crazy. And so, I remember years ago, I had written some of my dreams and some of my stuff. And I found the journal probably 3 years later. And I had just booked the very first Paint Party Business Live at the Stockyards at Billy Bob's. And in that journal, it said, host a paint party event in the Stockyards. And I was like, what? Oh my gosh, like it's crazy how you can have an idea, you can have a plan, and you can still do something with it. And Valerie, oh my gosh, she says, I'm 67, not sure where to start. So we have a lot of people, and Rita comes to mind all the time. Rita is, I don't want to say for sure how old she is, but I know she's in her 70s, and her husband, she sells art all the time. He sells pottery all the time. They literally like do such great stuff. And so 67, you are a young chick. You still have, I'm sure the comments will say so too, you still have decades left. I took this weird random, and I'm sorry, I'm about to finish the live, I promise. But I took this weird random quiz, and I know it's not like legit quiz, but I took it anyway, and it was like calculating how long they think you would live based on like your habits and your health and all those kinds of things. And it said I was gonna live to like 104 or something. And I was like, no, that's a long time. Like, that's a long time. And so I started thinking, I mean, it was like 59 years left. Like, I'm in my 40s. And I was thinking, you know, so many of us in our late 50s and our late 60s, we think, you know, oh, it's over, or I don't have much time left. But seriously, you like have potentially decades left. You know, my grandma is 94. You know, if all of a sudden at 67 or at 60, I'm like, that's about it. I mean, if I live to where my grandma lives, she's still living. She's 94. I mean, that's 60, 70, 80, 90, that's 30 something years left. That's almost my age now at 42. So I don't want you to ever like make choices in life based on the age you are, because I want you to make choices based on the ideas you have and the dreams you want to accomplish and the things you want to do. I have totally changed things in my life so many times. We have lived in so many different houses. We have moved so much from bankruptcy to starting my first business. I feel like, you know, God gives us so many chances. In the past, I used to think we only get one shot, or if we've messed up so much, we only get 1 or 2 times. I've realized we don't. We get chance after chance after chance. And there's so many possibilities. So I would love for you, because I would love to go back and read these comments, I would love for you to just put your idea or your dream of what you want to do, whether it's getting started with, you know, teaching paint parties, or whether it's wanting to do online creativity stuff like that. Please put in the comments, because I just think that you're never ever too old to give up on your dream, where you want to be. And I just want to say, I hope that you enjoyed this book. Again, when I finish the live, if you missed me reading it, go ahead and start it over, and then you'll see me reading it. And I read it straight through. It's a very short book. I read it straight through with no interruptions. So again, what do you do with an idea? And it's by Yamada. So I wanted to share that with y'all tonight. And again, let me know if you like this. Put some hearts and some comments. If so, I will read the book next week called Trying. And then if you want to be notified when I am live, the text number is in the description. Just text, "Hey BFF," and then whenever I go live, I send a quick little message to you right before I go live. So anyway, oh, and I've been giving away stuff on Fridays. I've been giving away some fun stuff on Fridays. So anyway, I hope y'all have a great night, and thanks for being here. And this was a lot of fun, and I will see y'all later. Bye, y'all.